And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Do want to thank our friend Trina from Trina's Cleaning Service yesterday. We went by the Penny Patrol and picked up a lot of pennies, a lot of cash, a lot of donations, and a lot of goods for the Boise Rescue Mission. If you'd like to help us with Miller's Mission, make sure you check out our website, KIDOTalkRadio.com. Let's go to the phones. Joining us now from the Republican National Committee, Blair Ellis. Blair, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on this AM.
Well, good to have you with us here on KIDO Talk Radio in Idaho. So we take a look at Washington right now. We have Nancy Pelosi, Jerry Nadler. It's almost like we're going back to the president's time in the WWE where they're going, he wants us to impeach him. He's goading us. And I'm thinking, is this any way for congressional leaders to act, really?
It's a great question, and the answer should be no. At this point, we just continue to see more of the same political games from Democrats. You know, they can't pass any kind of meaningful or substantive or policy-forward agenda, so the only other thing that they know how to do is keep the charades and the political games going, and we're seeing it with Mr. Nadler on the Judiciary Committee, and we continue to hear it from Mr. Schiff on the Investigations Committee, and they're really doing whatever they can to kind of hold on to this silly collusion narrative that's been disproven time and time again. Facts are facts, and I think Democrats are trying to ignore them for what they are at this point. But maybe at some point they'll get back to work for the American people. My fingers are crossed.
Well, they certainly have a list, don't they? I mean, they have a list of things that they were elected to do, and they're always talking about in 2018 we did this, and yet they're not doing anything.
No, they're really not. And in fact, the only real thing that they've proposed, if we can even call it a real thing, is the Green New Deal at this point. And that is nothing but a taxpayer boondoggle that's going to, allow for government takeover over nearly every aspect of our lives. But truly, that's kind of really the only policy proposal that we've seen Democrats put forward this year. And it's one that's unattainable, it's unaffordable, it's unworkable, and a million other reasons why there's no way it could come to fruition. And yet what do Dems continue to want to do? Peddle a fake Russian collusion narrative that's been, overturned months ago. And so, there comes a point when I hope that the liberal base starts speaking up a little bit more loudly and showing some frustration with what their Democrat leadership is doing or lack thereof. But that's certainly not going to stop President Trump and the Republicans in Congress from keeping their foot on the gas and working hard for the American people.
Well, let's talk a little bit about, some big issues we have going on. Obviously, people are wondering, well, first of all, Blair, by the way, Blair Ellis joining us, KIDO Talk Radio, Kevin Miller in the morning, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. I think Jerry Nadler and Nancy Pelosi are the only Democrats that haven't jumped in to run for president yet.
Right. I know that this field just kind of keeps expanding. Yesterday we reached 22 Democrats, and at this point we're about 4 or 6 weeks out from the first Democrat debate in Florida, which I am very excited about. I can't wait to watch them duke it out on stage with each other. And that, to me, will be a really defining moment. I think at this point we've kind of seen a lot of these Democrat contenders play nice with each other. And it's been interesting to watch how they've kind of tried to differentiate themselves from the other 21 in the pack. But I really think when we get to the point when the debate comes around, we're going to start seeing them throwing some elbows, and they're going to have to start actually kind of getting down in the mud with some of their so-called friends. And so I think that's going to really be a turning point in this race, and that's going to really be when we start to see the Democrat field start to narrow.
Well, I can't wait for the first debate. I mean, it's going to be like a 3-night movie event.
Totally. It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to watch. I'm going to have popcorn popped, and I'm interested to see too what kinds of questions are asked of the Democrat candidates, and is there any flip flopping among them, and are they going to try and take a few swings or a few jabs at their allies on the stage with them? They're going to have to start finding a way to differentiate themselves from the others in the mix, and they're going to have to find a way to try and prove to their liberal base that they are as liberal as they say they are.
Okay, so let's get back to the business of the American people that people in Idaho or Iowa or Indiana would like these folks to get done. And is the Democratic House really doing anything?
I wish They aren't at this point. There's been no policy, no proposals, no nothing from the Democrats. They've really done nothing but obstruct and resist. We continue to see it kind of play out right now in the Judiciary Committee, where we saw Mr. Nadler and the Democrats vote along party lines to hold Mr. Barr in contempt of court last week, which was just another political charade, just another example of the games that they're playing, and yet another example of how they're not working for the American people. It's an abuse of power, what Mr. Nadler's doing, and at this point, no amount of political games is going to change the fact that the Mueller report showed no collusion and no obstruction. Never mind the fact that Attorney General William Barr has been incredibly transparent, very cooperative, very thorough throughout this entire process of releasing this Mueller report. He's gone above and beyond, I think, what a lot of people expected he would do. He's really done his best to be a neutral party figure and really just present the facts as they are. But Democrats don't want to let facts stand as facts. They want to make this about tearing down and undercutting the president, and that is a shame.
Well, it is when you think about this. Now, what about the Republican Senate? What's going on there?
So the Senate is certainly something, is certainly an entity that is actually trying to get some things done for the American people. We have Leader McConnell over there that is a tried and true Republican, and he's somebody that's trying to make sure that we're working for the will of the people. He's constantly in communication with the White House, working to figure out at this point if we can get a budget deal in the works. And so there's certainly movement and progress happening over there on the Senate side, far much greater than that of what we're seeing over on the House, or lack thereof.
Blair, what should we be looking out for this week?
There's a lot that's coming on the pipeline. We're certainly in the mix of the United States-China trade talks right now. We've continued to see that President Trump is not going to allow the U.S. to be taken advantage of by China. And at this point, trade negotiations and conversations between the administration and the China delegation are continuing. They're coming along, and he's going to continue discussions during the upcoming G20 summit that he'll be participating in. And really what we're seeing is our president taking some long overdue action, standing up to China's unfair trade practices, defending America's intellectual property. And so those conversations, those negotiations are in the mix. They're in the works right now. We're going to continue to see how those turn out over the course of the next couple of days. But at the end of the day, China knows that the U.S. economy is soaring, and our economy has really put us in a position of negotiating strength. And so that is to the benefit of us and to the detriment of China during these negotiations.
Well, and a lot of people don't understand we have such more productivity than China does. They have more people, but we are so productive. And, the president, thankfully, is just doing the work that should have been done many, many years ago. And, I think it's a little culture shock for the Chinese.
Oh, totally. I think the Chinese have kind of been given a pass for decades. I think under prior administrations, it's just not been something that anybody has really taken a strong stance on. And at this point, we're tired of our intellectual property rights getting taken advantage of. And we've come to the negotiating table with China before, only to have them turn their backs on us. And I think truly this is the president saying, look, enough is enough. He's had enough meetings with businesses and here in the United States, and business owners, entrepreneurs. He knows the obstacles that are faced among those in the intellectual property atmosphere. He knows that those are things that we need to start taking seriously. We need to start having the backs of the American businesses, and that's what we're doing. And luckily for us, we have a strong economy on our side, again, that puts us in a position of strength. We have created, since Trump was elected, more than 6 million new jobs. We have unemployment rate that's dropped to 3.6. It's the lowest number we've seen since 1969. We've seen first quarter GDP smash expectations at 3.2%. Those are the statistics and the facts that China knows they're up against, and that is, again, why President Trump is going to hold China's feet to the fire when it comes to trade negotiations.
Well, Blair Ellis, we appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We appreciate her from the RNC. Kevin Miller in the morning here. Phone number is 580-5436, 580-KIDO. By the way, it's funny. We have some situations going on within the 4th of July. Now, the 4th of July here in the Treasure Valley, we have parades everywhere. Of course, we kick it off the 4th of July season with God and Country at the Ford Idaho Center Amphitheater. That's going to be the 26th, I believe, that Wednesday before the 4th of July. Always good, fun, wholesome, free entertainment. So many years, over 50 years, promoting American values, religious values at God and Country. So the president has taken a look at the 4th of July parade in Washington. It's not a big deal. He's the president. He can do what he wants. All of a sudden, I mean, I guess we should call this segment the Daily Outrage, where you have the faux media, the faux journalists going crazy because the president wants more of an impact on the 4th of July, wants to make it as wholesome and as Americana as possible. Well, that's not good enough for the drive-bys. That's not good enough for everybody else. So now they're ripping him. We have one CNN anchor saying, what's he going to do, foam at the mouth? Now, again, in America, we have this thing called the First Amendment. This program, Kevin Miller in the Morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM, we do our very best to reflect the true spirit of the First Amendment. Whether you agree, whether you disagree, whether you believe that people talk too much, whether you agree or disagree that I talk too much, we love to hear what people have to say. But when you have somebody at CNN or wherever else say these things about the commander-in-chief, it demeans the office. What did we hear for years during President Obama? What did we hear for years? Well, you have to respect the office. Even if you don't like him, you have to respect the office. Is anybody respecting the office of the presidency? Is anybody respecting the president of the United States? Do you feel that going on here? Because I surely don't. I surely don't. Coming up next, as predicted, whether or not to rebuild, reload, or build a new Canyon County Jail is dominating the local headlines. But in reality, is it? Plus, one devious little lib Democratic presidential candidate has a plan to take your guns. We'll let you know about it next. Kevin Miller, KIDO Talk Radio. And blessed to be a part of your day. Kevin Miller in the Morning, KIDO Talk Radio. Phone numbers 580-5436. 580-KIDO. So we have the latest from the devious little libs. We have Kamala Harris that is going to give us her thoughts on what she's going to do with your guns. But first, remembering a legend who made us laugh.
Tributes to actor and comedian Tim Conway flooding Twitter, along with clips of his memorable sketches, including his Emmy-winning performances on The Carol Burnett Show.
Tom felt sorry for him. They couldn't go like the other elephants when they go.
TV host Conan O'Brien posts, "No one made me laugh harder than Tim Conway. What a sweet and effortlessly funny man." Comedian Christopher Titus calling him a comic genius. In a statement, actress and comedian Carol Burnett says in part, he'll be in her heart forever. Tim Conway was 85 years old. Kristen Goodwin, Fox News.
Kristen, thank you very much for that. Boy, Tim Conway, can you remember Saturday nights watching the Carol Burnett Show and seeing he and Harvey and Carol and Vicky just makes you yearn for Americana, doesn't it?
Why are you trying to go through and lock the door?
You told me to.
If I told you to jump out the window, would you do that?
No.
It's too bad. I had some hope for that.
Get this tooth out of my mouth now.
Let's see now. If we're going to pull her out, we'll have to have those pulley things. The pulleys and, let's see, pinchy things and the little picky things. There. Pinchy, picky, pulley.
By the way, if you've never seen the Apple Dumpling Gang with Don Knotts and Tim Conway, that's something, and it's funny. The older we get, those movies just seem to resonate. And maybe when we were younger, maybe as kids, we'd see these movies and go, why are they so silly? But the facial expressions of Don Knotts and Tim Conway, and if you don't know who those folks are, take a look at both of them. Both were dubbed like second bananas, but the Apple Dumpling Gang, Google or YouTube those things. By the way, Tim Conway dying at the age of 85 from the state of Ohio, and certainly made a lot of us laugh, winning 4 Emmys. We sure will miss Tim Conway. By the way, Tim Conway, get this, he was Barnacle Boy. So if your kids, grandkids, are fans of SpongeBob SquarePants, that was him, Barnacle Boy. Amazing. let's get you to work safely and on time. KIDO Talk Radio time, 6:24. Good morning, Dave. And I'm Kevin Miller in the morning. So let's get to it. You know, we've got all the devious little libs with their plans, what they're going to do. Here's California, the pride of California, Senator Kamala Harris talking about guns. She seems to be pro-gun friendly, right?
If elected, the California senator is vowing to take executive action if Congress fails to pass tough gun control legislation within her first 100 days in office. Among the actions she would take, banning the importation of all AR-15 style assault weapons, mandating near universal background checks, and preventing convicted domestic abusers from purchasing guns. The Harris campaign argues the AR-15 weapon might be banned outright because they're not suitable for or readily adaptable to sporting purposes. In Washington, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News.
So there we have it. Let's ban the AR-15. Let's ban this. Let's ban that. And, of course, what are they going to do? They're going to declare a national emergency. So when you take a look at your right to keep and bear arms, does it end with a revolver? I mean, really? Playing devil's advocate here. Don't get the wrong idea about me. But do you really need a revolver? Do you really need, how about a musket? And really, how about a bow and arrow? How about a slingshot? Because only criminals have guns. If you're a law-abiding person, you have nothing to fear, right? You shouldn't really have to protect yourself. You just press a button and the authorities will be there. The authorities would like to be there as quick as possible. You look at that recent school shooting in Colorado, and what do you have? Those folks got there as soon as possible in less than 2 minutes, but still tragedy occurred. And more would have happened if that young man had not, committed the ultimate sacrifice. Sacrificing himself for strangers, friends, classmates at such a young age. Then again, you heard another kid, maybe you saw this online, 6th grader, had a bat and he was going to smack the gunman. He wasn't going down without a fight. But in Kamala Harris's world, an AR is really unnecessary. We should go back to the bolt-action guns. You don't need magazines, right? We came dangerously close. And that's one thing that President Obama didn't really get his grubby hands on. Guns. What was the one regret that Obama had? Guns. That he didn't get a chance to leave his legacy, his stamp. Oh, he's left his stamp and legacy on a lot of us. Like back in the old days when people would get the tramp stamps, right? Now you have another Democrat saying we need to get rid of the AR-15s. We need to ban the importation of guns. You don't have to be a regular at Independence Indoor Shooting to understand the need to protect yourself. Now, this is the wonderful time of year because you can go out, you can go to the outdoor ranges, well, probably not tomorrow, and shoot and, again, learn how to protect yourself. At any age, a gun is a great equalizer. Of course, the media won't tell you that. Others in television, electronic media, radio won't tell you that. Kamala Harris, here we have a presidential candidate saying in New Hampshire yesterday that she wants to take your guns. 580-5436, 580-KIDO. It's just very, very crazy. Coming up after the news, Alabama makes its case against abortion. Your thoughts on that, plus the latest with the crazy Iranians. That more coming up. We'd love to have you join the conversation. And I just don't know if we're going to get a lot of feedback. I don't know what you think about this. Well, that's why I ask the questions. At 580-5436, 580-KIDO, the Canyon County jail situation. The people that are expanding the jail or in favor of building the new jail must have had a press release yesterday because now we have Channel 7, Channel 6, Channel 7, Channel 25, Channel 296, all doing the same theme, which is the need to build a new jail. Of course, you have to get a supermajority. And then we have the big headline, crowded Canyon County Jail letting inmates go. We know that happens all the time. It's happened all the time. We have been the only show that has broadcast from the jail. We've talked to the folks. It is not a happy and fun place. But a supermajority in Canyon County? Can you see that happening? And you're thinking, well, I live in Ada County. I don't really care. Well, from what I hear, Ada County, maybe after this election, 2020, is going to be looking for money to build what? You guessed it, true believer, a new jail. Is there any good news today? Yes, an update on Miller's Mission. We'll have that for you as well. Kevin Miller in the morning, KIDO Talk Radio, 107.5 FM, 580 AM. Good morning, Maggie. Hard to believe that song is an oldies song on some stations. Well, the walk of life continues. Kevin Miller in the morning, Rachel Sutherland, Fox News Radio, exclusively on KIDO Talk Radio. She joins us right from Capitol Hill. Rachel, good morning.
Hey, good morning, Kevin.
So hard to believe that Raspberry Beret is like an oldie song. You know what I mean?
I know. I was punching the radio dial recently, and all my favorites were on an oldie station. I thought, when did the 80s become oldies? But I guess it has.
It was a shocker for me when Bon Jovi is considered classic rock.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I feel the same. And because I think it was one of my first concerts, 1989, was Bon Jovi.
Well, I could go on and on, but I digress. From Bon Jovi to the Attorney General Barr, what's the latest in investigating the investigators?
Well, we know that U.S. Attorney John Durham has been for weeks now investigating whether or not the surveillance done on the Trump campaign was legal and appropriate. We're understanding his investigation is going to be more expansive than the one that's been underway by the Inspector General of the Justice Department, Michael Horowitz. Now, the other side is starting to weigh in. It's been pretty quiet among lawmakers, but former CIA Director John Brennan was on MSNBC last night kind of summing up the arguments they're going to have, is that he's basically calling this a fishing expedition to uncover something they, being the Trump administration, will misrepresent as being part of a deep state effort to undermine Trump's election. But there's a lot of people who believe that there was some kind of an effort within the FBI to do just that. I mean, even the New York Times had reported on George Papadopoulos being approached by an FBI informant who essentially was a honey trap, and she was asking him whether or not the Trump campaign was in bed with the Russians. And so he felt like something was strange about that. He even wrote a book about it, but the New York Times actually reported on it. President Trump says he did not ask the Attorney General to do this, but he's pleased that he is moving forward with this. So I think, Kevin, we're really going to need to kind of buckle in for a long ride here. I don't think we're going to get answers just straight away.
Right, of course. Then we have the reaction from Democrats saying that this is unnecessary, that it's, the end of the world as we know it. It's kind of funny because on one hand, they want to continue a certain investigation, or they want their own investigation, investigating, the Mueller report and what Bob Mueller did, and yet William Barr, I always want to call him Bob Barr, that old congressman from Georgia, William Barr,
oh yeah,
wants to investigate another investigation, and it just depends on the flip of the coin, what side you have in continuing these investigations.
Well, this has been parallel narratives for more than 2 years now. The president, shortly after he was elected, remember his famous tweet about wiretapping Trump Tower. Well, we don't know if that happened, but we do know that surveillance did occur. The question is whether it was justified. And the other side will make the argument that, yes, Russia clearly, from the Mueller report, was trying to infiltrate the Trump campaign. They were up to no good throughout the time, and that they felt like this was the right thing to do at the time. And everything in hindsight is 2020. But a lot of people will ask the question, well, why didn't you tip off the Trump campaign? Why didn't you let them know that this was going on? That, I think, is the crux of the matter. If they had approached the Trump campaign, the FBI at the time, the first approach I know about is that former FBI Director James Comey sat down with President Trump, the newly elected, president-elect, after the election, and let him know about the Steele dossier. Before that, it wasn't something that was presented to Trump as something to be concerned about. So it's a little odd, but the other side will definitely be making their arguments, and the country will continue to be deeply divided about this.
And so it continues. So much for infrastructure or anything else. This probably will dominate for quite some time.
Yeah, infrastructure week at the White House, that's the running joke. Although I do believe that they almost came to a deal about a week or so ago, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the president, on infrastructure, but I don't know where that stands at the moment.
Rachel Sutherland, we always appreciate it. By the way, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Favorite Prince song?
Oh, probably, Party Like It's 1999.
Wow.
I can't even remember.
You're not that old, Rachel.
Oh, yeah, that was sure. How about you? Your favorite Prince song?
I Could Never Take the Place of Your Man.
Okay.
I just love
that one's not...
I love the video and just the movement, and oh well. By the way, you can take a tour of Paisley Park. I'm on this Prince thing this morning, so.
Oh, you're okay. I didn't know that.
The next time you go to Minnesota, everybody who's interested.
All right, I'll book it.
Thank you, Rachel.
Thanks, Kevin.
All right, Rachel Sutherland joining us. Yeah, your favorite Prince song. And speaking of music, Boise Music Festival, we're just about a month away, just a little over a month away. Pitbull. Boy, Mr. Worldwide coming to the Treasure Valley. Hey, Mr. Pitbull. You'll join, well, the plethora, the Pantheon, the Parthenon. Parthenon. Tomato. You know what I'm trying to say. And if not, you'll join the Hall of Fame music acts that have graced Expo Idaho's big stage. I'm trying to figure out how to do this. Okay, let me just try this. You'll join the all-star talent that has been here in the Treasure Valley, beginning with Bret Michaels, not Meatloaf, Bret Michaels, Train, LL Cool J. 10 years of excellence at the Boise Music Festival. You can buy your tickets online. Details, KIDOTalkRadio.com. You can win your tickets at select locations. We'd love to see you there. It's going to be a huge program, huge show. And, of course, you got the carnival, you got the vendors, you got the vibe. Great to see things coming to the Treasure Valley. A lot of people are talking about Garth Brooks, and that's wonderful. People are going to be happy. We're all very proud that Big Garth is coming in. But before you go to Big Garth, how about the Eli Young Band? How about Tone Loc? And a lot easier to get into and out of. So, tickets for Garth Brooks goes on sale this Friday, I believe. However, Boise Music Festival tickets, take a look at social media. You can win them for free. Kevin Miller in the morning here, KIDO Talk Radio. The Ninth Circuit of Appeals will hear arguments tomorrow in a lawsuit brought by the transgendered inmate who wants you, via the Idaho Department of Corrections, to provide it with gender confirmation surgery. A federal judge in Idaho ordered the Idaho Department of Correction to provide the surgery and to the inmate, Audrey Edmo, earlier this year, saying the medication alone was not enough to treat her severe gender dysphoria and that denying the surgery amounted to cruel and unusual punishment. Boy, we are so compassionate when we talk about prisoners in the pokey. We forget about the victims, don't we? We forget about what Edmo was convicted of. Right? If you're wondering, you can Google it, look it up. It's not very nice. And yet we're worried about Edmo. Edmo's going to harm himself, herself, itself. Edmo's going to do this. Edmo's going to do that. So much so that people are going to pay through their tax dollars to make this happen. I don't think that's right. Thankfully, the Idaho Department of Corrections appealed the decision, with state officials contending that the prison's medical professions say non-surgical methods would be the best way to treat Edmo's conditions. One thing that is the irony of all this, and God love you, that if you love your family, God love you that if you are struggling, or even if you aren't struggling to make it. Now, what's the biggest thing that causes bankruptcies in America today? What's the one thing that we all fear? One of the many things that we can't control. It's not student loan debt, not credit card debt. It's the unforeseen medical emergencies. Right? Obama and thank you, Obama. Thank you, Obama. Still can't do that one right. And his charade of health care. And for some, it's worked. For some, Obamacare has worked at the expense of others. Okay, I guess that's socialism brought to medicine. It's made our healthcare system worse. It has accelerated the rise of the huge pharma, medical, insurance, industrial complex that we see today with these labyrinth tributes to modern medicine. And they'll charge you for it, going up everywhere throughout the country of America, the state of Idaho, the region of the Treasure Valley. Right? What's the biggest thing that scares the blank out of us is a medical emergency. You can't have enough insurance, right? You can have a Cadillac plan. You can have a Chevy plan. It don't matter, right? So it seems to me the irony of this is that we have good people that don't break laws, that love their children, that pay their taxes, that pay their bills, that are role models, They don't get the state to pay for their surgeries. They're elective surgeries, in my opinion, like Edmo here. And here we have a 3-judge panel. The Ninth Circuit in San Francisco will hear arguments on Thursday. God bless you, Lawrence Wasden. God bless you, Idaho Department of Corrections. And those people don't come cheap. We have to pay just to defend those against this lawsuit. And it seems to me, whether you're Chelsea, Kelsey, Timmy Manning, we shouldn't have to pay for something that you want to do. We shouldn't have to pay for this, and the state is right to fight this. It's crazy. And Donald Trump, whether you like Donald Trump or not, Donald Trump is doing something about these crazy, wacky, devious liberal justices that are just forking it over, sticking it in. Whether you are a Republican or a Democrat, how can anybody justify this? Having an inmate, a convicted criminal, getting free, open, and honest medical treatment. Well, it's cruel and unusual punishment. So is the person that's dying from cancer. So is the person that, and I hope this isn't anybody that we know, that is sick and dying and can't afford medical help. Will they sue Big Pharma? Will they sue the hospitals and say it's not fair? Will they say that it's cruel and unusual punishment that they're not getting medical treatment? To me, we're benefiting the criminals. We're giving the criminals better treatment than we are people that actually contribute to society. What do you think? 580-5436, 580-KIDO. Coming up next, a western state, it's in our neighborhood, but it certainly is not us, is named the best state in America to live. Really? We'll get your reaction next. Kevin Miller on your home for Sean Hannity, KIDO Talk Radio. There we have it. Thank you very much, Ray Amaya, for summarizing in sound bites what I was trying to say. So the president is going to have the 4th of July celebration in Washington at the Lincoln Memorial. Usually it's on the National Mall. Usually you have select guests that go to the White House, and the president sits there on the Truman balcony and watches. That has been the tradition. So the president is going to go meet the people and give a speech. Good for him. I think it's great, right? I think it's outstanding. As always, we appreciate your phone calls at 580-5436. 580-KIDO. Here's some more Miller meddlings, if you will. Miller mumblings. First, we start with your girl, AOC, on the Green New Deal and her thoughts on Joe Biden.
I will be damned if the same politicians who refused to act then are going to try to come back today and say we need a middle of the road approach to save our lives. That is too much for me.
There you have it. Oh, the youth and the intelligence and the life experience of a 29-year-old. She's responding to Joe Biden, who, God bless old Joe, he's trying to be realistic with this crazy, wacky, zany New Deal.
I've never been in the middle road on the environment. I made a speech on the floor back in 1987 and talking about why there's an existential threat to humanity if we don't move. So this idea that I haven't done anything, take a look at the record. That's what I'd say. I'm sure she will get time to look at it.
Well, she did take a look at the record. She's not down with you, Joe. You're not an extremist enough. And by the way, does anybody really believe that the end of the world is going to end? Remember Y2K? Well, maybe a lot of you weren't alive during then. So 2000, the computers were going to freeze up, and a lot of us had to work to make sure that everything was good to go. And then you're thinking to yourself, well, we needed the computers to broadcast. So if we went down, it really wouldn't have mattered. Anyway, we've heard about the end of the world as we know it. REM had that great song, and AOC and the climate changers and everything else. Look, America is not the world's largest polluter. In fact, if you decided to go 0% emissions in the United States of America, what would you cut the emission standards of the world, the global warming by, the alleged global warming, the greenhouse gases, the methane, the cows, you name it, by like 1%, if that. But the climate promoters, the truth deniers, will never, ever, ever, ever let that truth get out. By the way, here's the president.
And now they talk about the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal, everybody go home, you just lost your jobs. The Green New Deal is That's a hoax like the hoax I just went through. I'm not even sure. It might be a bigger one. And mine was pretty big. Mine was unlimited. Think of it. The Green New Deal. Under that deal, I didn't have this. This isn't down. But John Kennedy, Bill, under that deal, everybody in this room gets fired.
There you have it. Everybody under the deal gets fired. Coming up next, the best state to live in America. KIDO Talk Radio Time with Kevin Miller in the morning, 6:57. Traffic and weather together. Let's get you to work safely and on time. Good morning, Dave. The list ranks states by multiple criteria, including economy, healthcare, education, and infrastructure. No word on crazy, wacky, zany liberal taxes or anything else. Washington took the top spot, followed by New Hampshire, Minnesota, Utah, and Vermont. Where was Idaho? I believe we were like 14th. Ouch. Well, that was Iowa. Anyway, meanwhile, the southern states of Louisiana, Alabama, Mississippi found themselves at the bottom of the list. Iowa dropped all the way down to 14th. You think about this, whether you've lived in Idaho your entire life or you lived in multiple states. You know, you think back as you're driving in your favorite state. For most of us, it's Idaho because of the great quality of life that is diminishing because so many people are moving in. This is good news. Imagine. And it's funny, you have the smirky, pithy statesman with their little headline going, hey, congratulations, Idaho. You didn't make the top blah, 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 best place to live. Good. Let's get the secret back. Move to Washington, everybody. Governor Inslee will love you. And climate change. Good morning.